Hey Rose, I thought I'd get a video out to you to give you something to either work on the weekend or you can do this Monday for our pre-calc class. The next topic are called product sum identities. There are 8 identities that you do not have to memorize, nor does the class, but you need to be able to find them. So the most important thing for you is to get your textbook and find pages 306 and 307. On page 306, there's 4 identities. They deal with like taking sines and cosines multiplied together and breaking them up by either addition or subtraction. I'll read them to you as we kind of do some example problems, but there's 4 of them, and again, they're long identities. They're easy to use, but I want you to be able to feel them with your fingers on page. So there's 4 of them on page 306. They're in a box like in the middle of the page. And there's 4 of the same identities. They're called alternate forms on the bottom of page 307. I have them listed here on my iPad so Dee can follow along. All right. And then I'm gonna show you now how to use them. So of course, I'm gonna go quickly because I know you can pause the video and rewind. But the first problem, it's on page 308, number 1. So you can actually find the problems on the next page under class exercises. I'm just picking out a handful of problems to do today. So number 1 says express each product as a sum or a difference. So express the product, meaning we're going to get some stuff multiplied together, and you're going to break it apart as an either addition problem or subtraction. So the first problem is 2 times the sine of pi over 6 times the sine of pi over 4. So it's 2 sine pi over 6 sine pi over 4. Now, I recognize that you can find those trig values, but I don't want you to do that. We're going to use the identity to actually rewrite it as trig functions being added together. So, on page 306, we have an identity for 2 times a sine times a sine, and I'm going to write it on my page here, but it's the second identity down on page 306, and I'll write it on the side here. It's 2 times the sine of alpha times the sine of beta equals the cosine of alpha minus beta minus the cosine of alpha plus beta. Yikes, a long identity like I told you. And we're going to take 2 times the sine of pi over 6 times the sine of pi over 4. Now, for our purposes, pi over 6 is alpha and pi over 4 is beta. So when I rewrite this identity, because it's in the form 2 times the sine times another sine, I get cosine of alpha minus beta, but of course, if I plug in alpha and beta, I get cosine of pi over 6 minus pi over 4. And then continuing with the identity, I have minus cosine of alpha plus beta. So that's pi over 6 plus pi over 4. And really the hardest part is adding and subtracting fractions. So the first subtraction problem, I have the cosine. I have pi over 6 minus pi over 4. You need to get a common denominator of 12. So it would be 2/12 minus 3/12, okay, minus the cosine pi over 6 plus pi over 4. So that's 2/12 of pi plus 3/12 of pi. So continuing down my paper, I got cosine, I got 2 pi over 12 minus 3 pi over 12. That's the cosine of minus pi over 12 minus the cosine, and the second parentheses is 2/12 plus 3/12, which of course is 5/12. You're almost done. That first parentheses has the cosine of negative pi over 12. The cosine of a negative angle you can drop out. Cosine's an even function. If you think of the graph of cosine, it's symmetric in the y-axis. So we have these little things called even odd identities, which means cosine of a negative, you could just drop the negative. So as a final answer, we get cosine of pi over 12 minus the cosine of 5 pi over 12. I know it sounds crazy what we did. We actually just took things multiplied and turned them into things being subtracted. In case you're wondering, the purpose is in calculus, sometimes you have to take stuff multiplied together and change it to an addition or a subtraction problem. So I'm going to pause here and